Hello and happy Digital Friday. So today we are creating digital versions of your 3D puzzles using SketchUp. So you need to open SketchUp for Schools to start with. Make sure you sign in with Microsoft. And then you're going to click on Create New. In the past, we've really only done things that are not measured in SketchUp. What you need to do today is very measured because you're reproducing your puzzle, and your puzzle needs to be exactly 3 inches by 3 inches by 3 inches when it is complete. Quick review, you change the name up here. So I would give it a name. I'm going to call mine my last name, 3D puzzle. Save it. Next thing I would like you to do is just practice. So zooming in and out is your middle mouse button scroll. If you hold down your scroll wheel, you can rotate or orbit. And to pan, you hold shift and that middle mouse button. So that should help you get around a little bit. How I'm choosing to do this might be different than how you choose to do this, but I want to show you at least one way that I think works okay. To start out with, I'm going to make a 3 by 3 by 3 cube. That's kind of like an empty set of guidelines, essentially. So to start out with, I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, click here in the corner, and come out, and I'm going to type 3 inches, comma, 3 inches, and enter. So you can see it's pretty tiny. I'm going to delete my little person here so I can zoom in on this. And I'm just going to make sure that my dimensions are correct. So I'm going to grab my tape measure. Yep, and it's 3 inches. I'm going to use the push-pull tool to bring this up. So I'm going to bring this up 3 inches. The next thing I want to do is create a grid on here that is 1 inch, to create a grid of squares that are 1 inch by 1 inch. So to do that, I know I need a column here every 1 inch. So I'm going to click on the Move tool, and then I'm going to click on Control. And I'm going to click here, come this way, type in 1 inch, and hit Enter. I'm going to do that again. So click on it, hit Control, 1 inch, hit Enter. So now I have those two. I also want to have rows. So I'm going to use my arrow key, click on this one. To select a multiple, I hold down Shift. So you can see just that blue line is selecting. I now am going to select my Move tool, click on the corner, hit Control, type in 1 inch, hit Enter, and then do that again. Click here, click Control, come straight up, type in 1 inch, and remember inches are the quotation marks, hit Enter. So now I have my Rubik's Cube of one face, but I need it everywhere. So I'm going to grab my pencil tool, and these lines I can extend as long as I'm being careful to make sure that I'm keeping those axes constant. So I'm going to do that all the way around. So again, I'm making sure that I see that it's green, so I know I'm right on axes. I'm also going to drag these lines across the top here. I'm going to drag these along the back and the bottom. Okay, I still need to add in one more step for this side. So I'm going to select the edges here, hitting Control, so I can select more than one at a time. Then I'm going to hit my Move tool, click on the corner, come this way, hit Control to make sure it's copying, then type in 1 inch, hit Enter. Same thing, click here, click Control, hit 1 inch, Enter. Okay, so now let's bring those all the way around. And around the bottom. Okay, and so now I have my full puzzles that were completed. Now that I have this, I'm going to make it translucent in a slightly different color. So first thing I'm going to do is click and drag, select all of this. And I'm going to come over here to my materials palette. And I'm going to give it a color. So I'm going to go to Explore Colors. I'm just going to make this peach color, paint the whole thing. Now that I've painted it, if I go back to my home button and click on the material, I can click here to edit it. And what I want to do is add opacity. So right now it's 100% opaque. I can't see through it. 0% would look like that. I'm going to give it like maybe 30% opacity so I can see it, but I can also see through it. So you can see I have like a kind of an empty grid to fill in. Okay, I'm going to select this whole thing, right click and click Make Group. That way to edit this, I would have to double click to get in there. It's really important you make it a group. All right, now I'm ready to make my puzzle pieces. So the first one I have kind of looks like a staircase on this side. And right now I'm just looking at the physical puzzle piece I have. And I'm using it to figure out what this looks like. You'll notice it gets light when I finish the face. I use the push-pull tool here to pull this to the first step. Now continuing to look at my puzzle piece. It looks like the middle kind of comes backwards, so I'm going to rotate around. Oh, and it looks like here I wasn't very careful about keeping it to 1 inch. Let's see if it looks right on that side. Nope, so I'm going to fix that. I'm just going to come back to here and drag it back. Okay. So looking at this piece, I want this middle square to extend, so I'm going to add some lines onto it. And if I can't get to it from here, I can do something a little different to get to it. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to add in that one, add in this one, and then connect these two lines here. I'm having trouble getting to the corner on this piece. So I'm going to grab my rectangle tool instead and get the corner I was okay getting already. Sorry, rectangle tool. Okay, let's see if I can get it to cooperate. If not, we'll do a different tactic. Yeah, it's not letting me get it from there. So instead I'm going to draw on the bottom. That works just as well. So I'm going to draw my new face down here. Then I'm going to push-pull this up until I get to this level. Okay, and finally, this has a little tail on the end of it. So if I come here, I should be able to use this intersection across to split this. Again, I'm always looking for it to have that, that it's clicking to something so I know it's actually working. And so then I'm going to bring this up until I hit here. And so now within that cube, I can see my new piece. I'm going to move my guide cube off using the move tool. Okay, so there is my first puzzle piece. And this puzzle piece is green. So I'm going to go ahead over to my materials, and just to make it easy so I can keep track of things, I'm making all green. Right now it's probably not a solid. I want to make it a solid so that I can 3D print it. So I'm going to select the whole thing, right click, and click on group. If I now go over to entity info, you'll see that it doesn't say solid over here. So I'm going to go down here to solid inspector. And that's to fix errors. And now it's solid. So now this is able to be 3D printed. Okay, let's make the next piece. So the next piece I have is orange. Not that the color matters for the part I'm doing right now, but I'm going to trace this face in, and I'm going to use the push-pull tool here to bring it back to the first square. Next, I have this face come down, so I'm going to use this rectangle tool to trace this face, and I'm going to push-pull that down 1. Okay. So now I have this kind of top piece and this side piece. In addition, there is this one goes all three across. So I can grab my rectangle tool, trace that, and then I'm going to push pull this piece all the way to the other side. And then the very last piece is this one. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my rectangle tool, trace that last one, and push pull that across just until I get to that first one. And so now I'm going to move off my guide cube with the move tool. And you can see this completed piece. Let me just rotate around, make sure it looks correct. Yeah, that looks good. You'll notice that here I'm missing a face. So I can add a diagonal to kind of close up that face, and then you'll notice these are reversed. So I need to really reverse those faces. So if I right click on here, I think I need to move this up. So I'm going to pin this up to the top of my screen. Then I'm going to right click on here. I'm going to click on reverse face and it should turn white. And that way it's all the faces in SketchUp have an inside and an outside. And I want the outside to be on the outside. Especially if I'm 3D printing, it's important to have the correct face on it. Okay, so this piece is all done. I'm going to right click, group the whole thing. And then I'm going to run my solid inspector, have it fix the errors so there's no internal things going on. And then finally I'm going to paint it orange. So going over to materials, plug that in. Okay, awesome. Very last piece we need to do. So this last piece, I'm going to start from the back face here. I'm going to go ahead and use my pencil tool, and I'm tracing an upside down U for my particular piece that I'm working with. Then I'm going to extrude this or use the push pull to bring this one piece. And then I have 3 other little pieces to add in. So there's one here, one here, and one coming from the bottom here. Okay, so then I'm going to push pull each of those out. Just making sure that I'm always hitting those marks. Okay, that was my last piece. I'm going to move the cube away. And that looks correct. I'm going to first select the whole thing, make it pink because this piece is pink. And then I'm going to right click, make group. I'm going to check if it's a solid, so I'm going to run inspector and fix the errors. Now it's a solid. And now those 3 are all ready to print. I'm going to copy them, so I'm going to select all 3 by holding down Control. And then I'm going to use my move tool, hit Control, bring those over. And then I'm going to put them back together just to prove my point that they work. So first I'm going to bring the orange one. So this one I think fits in here, fabulous. And then I'm going to grab the green one. That should fit right in there. And beautiful, I have my completed 3D puzzle. I would like you to save it. And then download the SketchUp file, and that's what you're going to upload to Google.